Ben Rhodes, another op-ed tonight published by Senator Jeff Flake, not on this particular topic, but speaking to other Republicans and asking them why they're doing what they're doing, particularly as it relates to the upcoming Senate trial, if there is one, and the rules that Democrats are asking Republicans to engage in. Jeff Flake writes, "My simple test for all of us. What if President Barack Obama had engaged in precisely the same behavior?" I know the answer to that question with certainty, and so do you. What's he talking about?
And so do I. Look, they were looking for something to go after Obama, to try to impeach Obama the entire time they had a majority of the Republicans in the House, and they didn't find it. And look, Michael was a speechwriter in the White House, so was I. And if you're involved in political communication, what you know is the most powerful thing you can say is something that kind of cuts through the noise that everybody knows to be true. So what Jeff Flake said, everybody knows to be true. This is hypocrisy. The Republicans would be, ripping out the gates of the White House to get at Barack Obama if he had done anything remotely like what Donald Trump did. Just like that article also kind of cuts through the noise and says something that everybody knows to be true, that Trump lies, that he looks out for his personal interests, that he's mistreated women. I think this kind of communication that doesn't get into the back and forth and the distractions and whatever conspiracy theories Trump or his House Republican defenders are throwing at people, but just states plainly things that people intuitively know to be true, that voters know to be true. That's the kind of case, I think, that people, not just a Democratic candidate, but Americans who are concerned about the direction of this country under Trump, that's the kind of case people are going to have to make, not just in written pieces, but around kitchen tables in this country and at congregations over the course of the next year if we want to see a change.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.